Hello, I'm Dan from Benchmark Media Systems, and today I'm going to walk you through our main product lines. I'm not going to talk too much about technical specifications. You can check out all of our owner's manuals on our website for a complete range of specifications. What I am going to do is give you a brief overview to help you decide which setup is right for you. We have three main product lines here at Benchmark. We have the DAC3 line, we have our preamplifiers, the LA4 and the HPA4, and we have our AHB2 power amplifier, which can be used in a stereo or mono mode. Let's start with the DACs. Our DAC3 line comes in three variations: the DAC3B, the DAC3L, and the DAC3 HGC. And they come in a black or silver finish. Now, I want to stress the fact that all of these DACs sound the same. Every one of our DACs are designed to be sonically neutral and transparent and are built on the same platform with identical signal paths. You don't need to stress about which one to buy based on sound quality. It strictly comes down to feature set. Let's have a look at the front panels. You'll see that the HGC and the L have a volume knob. These models include a built-in preamplifier and can be connected directly to a power amplifier like the AHB2. The HGC has our second generation HPA2 headphone amp. This headphone amplifier features dual 1/4-inch jacks and is capable of driving two pairs of headphones simultaneously. So in choosing between these two models, it really comes down to whether or not you'd want a built-in headphone amplifier. If we look at the DAC3B, you will see that it has neither a headphone amp nor a volume control. This model is strictly a D-to-A converter. Now let's have a look at the rear panels. For the digital inputs, we have two Toslink optical inputs, two SPDIF coaxial inputs, and one USB input. On the HGC and the L, there are two pairs of unbalanced analog inputs. The DAC3B does not include those. If you're using the DAC3B and you have analog sources, you will need an external preamplifier such as our LA4 or HPA4, which I'll get to in a moment. However, if all of your sources are digital and they have their own volume control, you may not need a preamp between the DAC3B and a power amplifier. One example is using a mini DSP streaming device like this one here, which includes a digital volume control. Another example is using the volume control in your music playback software. And in professional applications, a digital console or digital audio workstation will include a master volume control, eliminating the need for a separate volume control on the DAC. For best performance and simplicity of operation, you want to avoid cascaded volume controls. Now let's have a look at the outputs. For the HGC and the L, you have one pair of analog balanced outputs and two pairs of unbalanced analog outs. These can allow you to drive a set of mains and a set of subwoofers. The DAC3B has the same balanced analog outs, but only one pair of unbalanced analog outs. Remember, the DAC3B will need some means of external volume control, such as a preamplifier. For best performance, we always recommend using balanced interfaces. We've also provided a 12-volt trigger connector so you can link all of these products together. When connected with a 12-volt trigger, you can turn on your whole system using a single remote control or power button on the front panel. If it's an all Benchmark system, it will be sequenced for a silent startup and shutdown. I want to briefly talk about the output voltage of the XLRs. These XLR outputs have a professional output voltage of 12.28 volts RMS. Now, all of our products are designed to work in professional applications, but they can be reconfigured for consumer levels. If you're using an all Benchmark system, then you're all set. However, if you are driving a 4-volt consumer-grade XLR input, then you will need to reconfigure these outputs. I've linked a video in the description that shows you how to change that voltage setting. Now let's have a look at the preamplifiers. Here we have the HPA4 and the LA4, which are available in a black or silver finish. These preamps share the same platform and circuitry. The difference comes down to your need for an external headphone amplifier. Now, you might be curious as to why you would need an external headphone amp or preamp, since the HGC features the HPA2 and the HGC and the L can be used as a preamp. The first benefit is you'll have access to a wider range of headphones. The HPA4 features our top-of-the-line headphone amplifier, which is capable of driving virtually every headphone on the market. Now, there are some headphones that require unusually high drive current or drive voltage, and in some cases these requirements exceed the capabilities of the HPA2 in our DAC3 HGC, but they are easily handled by the HPA4. We've also partnered with THX and have included their AAA feed-forward error correction technology, which virtually eliminates all distortion. Let's say you're not using headphones. What is the benefit of adding an external preamp if I'm already using a DAC with a built-in preamp? The biggest benefit is system optimization. It will allow the DAC3 to run at its optimal operating level, which is near full output. It will perfectly match any DAC to any power amplifier. It will match unbalanced to balanced, balanced to unbalanced, pro to consumer, and consumer to pro. All of these level differences will be optimally matched when the LA4 and HPA4 is inserted into your system. Furthermore, at any listening level, the LA4 and HPA4 will give you the best signal-to-noise ratio that can be achieved by your DAC and power amplifier. And at all volume settings, this will be an improvement over the performance you would get from your DAC's internal volume control. And when it comes to connections, you can expand your analog inputs. If you were to combine any of these models with a DAC3 HGC or L, you now have 5 analog inputs. Now let's have a look at the front panels. Both models feature a touchscreen interface. The home screen displays the volume level and input selection. You can also filter through different settings, like the DAC setting, our boost setting, and you can make presets. Now let's have a look at the rear panels. Looking at the back of the LA4 and the HPA4, you'll see that they have identical rear panels. We've included 2 pairs of balanced XLR inputs and 2 pairs of unbalanced RCA inputs. Now, earlier I mentioned optimization, and here is a big benefit of using our preamps. RCA interconnects are standardized to carry about 2 volts RMS, but the professional level XLRs on the DAC3 carry 12.28 volts RMS. That's a big disparity, and in most cases it would affect the overall volume. Here at Benchmark, we've taken care of that. Our preamps add 15.8 dB of gain to all the RCA inputs, which will bring them up to the level of those XLR inputs. We wanted to eliminate any disparity in volume when switching between balanced and unbalanced inputs. Plus, all of this is done without raising the distortion levels. Looking at the outputs, we've provided 1 pair of RCAs. Those can be used with a subwoofer or power amp with unbalanced inputs. We've also provided 3 XLR outputs, left, right, and mono. Those left and right XLRs are what you would use to drive our AHB2 power amplifier or a pair of powered monitors. The mono output can be used to drive a single subwoofer. And finally, we have 2 12-volt triggers so that this can be linked between our DAC3 and the AHB2. Speaking of the AHB2, let's have a look at that. Like the rest of our products, the AHB2 comes in a black or silver finish. Now the AHB2 can drive a wide range of speakers. Here at our offices and at trade shows, the AHB2 has driven bookshelf speakers, tower speakers, Magnepans, and Martin Logan electrostatics. Right behind me in our listening room, we have a great pair of PMC MB2S three-way speakers. In another listening room, we have a pair of Westlake studio monitors, which we drive using a monoblock setup. And we also have the Note line arrays by Laufer Technic, which are rated at 2.4 ohms, and the AHB2 has no trouble running them. Whatever type of speakers you're using, we're confident that the AHB2 will get the job done. Now let's have a look at the rear panel. We have one pair of balanced XLR inputs, and if you need to connect a device that has only unbalanced outputs, we do have an RCA to XLR adapter cable that will allow you to connect those devices. I provided a link in the description below. For the outputs, we have two pairs of binding posts. If you're going to be using the binding posts, then we recommend using locking banana plug connectors. Our lab tests show that locking banana plugs provide the best electrical connection to binding posts. If you're looking for the best connection, we recommend using the Speak-On connectors. We have provided 3 Speak-On outputs for left, right, and mono. And if your speakers have binding posts, we recommend using our Speak-On to locking banana plug cable. We have a switch for mono or stereo. We also have a sensitivity switch that changes the gain of the amplifier. Next to the sensitivity switch, there are VRMS numbers which represent the input voltage required to drive the AHB2 to full rated power. Again, virtually all RCA outputs are calibrated to deliver 2 volts RMS. If you're using that, put the switch in the top position. Most Hi-Fi XLR outputs are calibrated to deliver 4 volts RMS. If that's your setup, then put the switch in the middle position. And benchmark XLR outputs are calibrated to deliver 12.28 volts RMS. If you have an all benchmark system, then put the switch in the bottom position. That concludes the overview of our products, and here are some suggestions to help you decide which setup is right for you. If you do not use headphones, then here are a couple setups with no headphone amp. A DAC3L feeding an AHB2 power amp, a DAC3B going into an LA4 and into an AHB2. If you do use headphones, here is a DAC3 HGC feeding an AHB2, and here we have a DAC3B feeding an HPA4 that's going into an AHB2. Now in any of these systems, you can upgrade to a bridged mono setup by adding a second AHB2. Also, if you start out with an HGC or an L, you can always add an HPA4 or LA4 to your system. I provided a link to a video which shows you how to properly pair a DAC3 to our preamps. Here are a few more desktop setups to consider if you are using powered monitors. Here, we have a DAC3 HGC feeding a pair of Focal Solo 6Bs. These particular speakers have no volume control, so the HGC is handling the volume. You also have the added benefit of the headphone amp. This is a great setup if you're looking for an all-in-one device for your desktop. If you want to optimize that setup, here we have a DAC3B feeding an HPA4. There are a number of combinations that you can find to fit your needs. And some other things to consider are, am I looking to keep costs down? If that's the case, you can go with a 2-piece system. If you're looking for the ultimate in performance, you can go with a 3-piece system. How many digital devices do I use? How many analog devices do I use? Etc. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. If I didn't cover any questions you may have had, you can check out our other videos or just give us a call. We are at 1-800-262-4675, or you can email us at sales@benchmarkmedia.com. Thanks for watching.